Everybody knows that sex sells.
Yeah, but they don't know the history of the people who sell it. I'm Kaytlin Bailey.
I'm Wendi Starling.
And this is The Oldest Profession. I worked as an hourly escort when I was in high school for no good goddamn reason. And then when I needed money for the first time, I got into sugaring to support comedy.
I'm a stand-up comedian and former sugar baby and panty girl.
We're telling stories about the unrepentant whores that came before us because the oldest profession
has a history, baby.
If you guys need to let me know to talk closer or louder, okay.
We'll let you know.
Okay.
Oh, no, we're not, Mary, do not edit that out. We want this.
We want to start right from where we're at. We like to bring our guests on and make them real nervous right up top with a lot of technical information.
I'm not tech savvy.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we're like, welcome to the show. First of all, this is how we take our coffee. Second of all, set up the equipment, you dumb whore. and our guest isn't even a sex worker.
Well, let's introduce our guest.
I meant that as a pejorative. That's a joke.
Thank you so much for coming all the way out here to sit there through this. This is Mistress Sontag Broudo from the SOAR Institute, and so we're going to be doing a show together April 18th at the Soho Playhouse, the old pro show, raising money for SOAR. So thank you so much and she's the co-founder and the co-director. I'm such a cunt. I asked you for all of this information right up front and then butchered literally all of it.
To be fair, Melissa's you're supposed to be our intern. You set up the equipment. Where the fuck are the cue cards with your intro on them? You are getting fired. If it wasn't for the hoop earrings and the fact that I can almost see your tits coming out when it's 50. I am in love with you, by the way. Yeah. I just met you. You walk in, you just I was like, okay, this is going to be, boring. An activist.
Right.
Like, okay, so, I know a little bit about your background, and you walk in and just like a high ponytail and hoops, and I'm like, get this bitch. Like a black sparkly eyeshadow in the middle of the day.
You look like my fashion icon when I was like a tween. Like you were exactly what I wanted to become. Like that's you.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like Tiffany, like the mall set, right?
Exactly.
Love it.
It's fantastic. Well, welcome to the Oldest Profession podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming down. First of all, tell us a little bit. I met you through sex worker rights activist circles. Yes. And I think it might be the narcissism, but I know nothing about you. Like it's, I feel like we've talked and also never connected. I don't know your story or.
Yeah. So
I just know that you do good work.
Thank you.
Yeah, what is SOAR?
What is SOAR? Okay. So the SOAR Institute, which was founded in June 2017, so a relatively new organization.
Oh, wow. That's very recent.
It's really recent. We stand for the Sharmus Outlaw Advocacy and Rights Institute. And I know we're going to chat, obviously, about Sharmus and her story. And it was co-founded by myself, and I'm an attorney, and Crystal Du Bois, who is a social worker and therapist. And Crystal and I had both been at the Sex Workers Project at Urban Justice Center for many, many years, where Crystal had been the director.
It felt like SOAR was like one of many things in many activist communities of like a symptom of a coming apart and a coming back together and like like an activist community in transition.
Definitely. I think in the New York City, and not to get too insidery wonky, that there really was a big shift. There was some organizations forming, some ending, but ultimately there was a moment in time where there was a real vacuum of leadership.
Right.
And I think to a certain extent there still is that.
Yeah.
But
weird, a criminalized community of people who are told they're dumb whores the whole time can't get together to get
Now here's my question, because I do want to know this, and because I'm not as in the know, and I think a lot of our listeners maybe don't understand. So when you say so what groups were in? I won't say empower, but which advocacy groups were in place? And then as far as like you said, a gap, like what did SOAR come in to fill? Like I think that's important because a lot of people don't. No. And people like me, even people who are maybe doing like, sex work like part-time or, are just kind of like dabbling in it, and they're freaked out, especially with all the new laws passing. They don't realize that there is a network of support.
Yeah.
So like what gap does SOAR fill? Like what do you guys do? What's your mission?
So SOAR is a policy advocacy capacity building and training organization. I know that sounds so boring.
It sounds like you're ready to like train a fleet to get on like a starship.
Right.
That sounds like we're training to go work for Elon Musk.
I mean, so many of my masturbatory dreams have to do with an army of whores, and also it feels like that's not what you're doing.
I want an army of space whores, and we get an army of space whores, and you get a Tesla, and you get a Tesla.
Oh my god, we should have that.
Besides,
it's just like a bunch, and we all dress like Barbarella, who was another one of my fashion icons when I was a kid.
Totally.
I used to masturbate to that movie when it was on TBS.
I love Barbarella.
I know.
But yeah, we're not unfortunately doing anything space oriented.
I mean, you're expanding everyone's consciousness.
We're expanding everyone's consciousness. I guess community spaces. I know that's like a popular, popular millennial term, which I'm too old to use. But
girl, don't limit yourself.
Late 30s over here. But I think, I am a lawyer, which is not exciting, I know. But I spent, I've been a lawyer for 12 years or so. Yeah. And I've been doing direct client services my whole career.
With specifically sex
workers.
Yeah, it sounds like your interest in sex work happened to you early.
Yes.
And you never let go.
I never let go.
Yeah.
I had a goal, and that was that for the last 20 years of my life.
So how did you get into, how was this something you wanted to do?
So it's really dorky and geeky how I became interested in the issue. When people meet me, they're like, "Oh, that's a lame story." But
was it like Kaytlin? Was it like Kaytlin just reading erotica? But you're like, this is really hot. Okay, I don't know if I could do this, but I want to hang out with these bitches.
Yeah, exactly. I was hang out with these bitches, and I googled it. I was like, I could just be one of these bitches. It's so accessible to me. But you went a different direction.
I went in a different direction. Although I thought about it, but yeah, I didn't.
Coward.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Well, no, it was honestly, and I know you're joking, but it was honestly.
Oh, we're being serious.
No,
we are trafficking you out, and because you're over 18, they can't do anything to us because it's child trafficking. I read the fine print in that fucking bill.
Can I tell you this funny story? And then I'll start from the beginning.
Yeah, of course.
But I really thought about stripping during law school. I remember I went with an ex-boyfriend to a strip club, as you do. And, and it was funny because he and I are still friends 15 years later. And we were just talking about it recently. And I was like, do you remember when we went and interview, I was going to maybe interview. He's like, I remember you taking your clothes off, but did not think that was at all related to a job.
Right, yeah. You were like, I thought that was one wild night we had. I did not realize that you were there in an audition capacity whatsoever.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I don't.
It's like a dude being like, do you know about informed consent? I feel violated and misled. That's hilarious. Before we get into the role that SOAR is playing now, let's dive deep into your history, and then I think we'll talk about
But it
just confusing and wonky and weird. And
totally. Yeah. But I guess all that is to say that I didn't actually do sex work because I actually felt like it is a labor issue, and it is largely, although not always, an economic labor issue. And so I didn't want to be one of those sort of privileged white girls that was going into it as a tourist.
Stop talking shit.
Sorry. I'm not no, it's, it just, for me personally, that was my sort of that was my decision at the time, where I was I
was 17 and I was like, no, I am the center of the universe. All things are possible for me, and I've never let go of that idea.
But no, I mean, look, people enter into sex work for all sorts of reasons. I just didn't want mine to be less than fully genuine.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Right.
So anyway, that story aside, I became really interested in the issue as an undergrad, doing women's studies.
Of course you did.
At Brown. it's
but and yet you didn't want to be a parody. So
I know.
And in women's studies in Brown, that's where they teach white women to end every sentence on the upswing. So it sounds like a question.
Totally.
I'm in love.
If you want to be heard.
Totally.
Oh, just so are you an only child? Do you have siblings?
I have two brothers. I'm in the middle. I'm from Westchester.
Okay. All right. A 3-family home in Westchester sent their daughter. Oh God. Sent their daughter to law school where she fell in love with whores. Great.
In undergrad, they sent first to Brown, that's where I really fell in love with whores.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The Ivy League
Women's Gender Studies department will do to you.
Yes.
It'll expand your consciousness into shit your parents had not considered.
Right. Because then you go wait a minute. Okay, so women are people, cool. So I'm a person. Oh wait, I can also use my body.
Yes.
Instead of having people take advantage of me for my sex parts, I can use it to get ahead of the game and exploit those assholes.
Feels like a magic trick and reverse patron. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
No, I understand the tantalizing. It feels like And also the cool thing about sex work, and the same thing that's true of comedian spaces, and I think historically activist spaces, is that we're fringe people, right? And so it's an insight, I think, that is very tantalizing and very cool to see society from this angle.
Totally. Well, I mean, I think, for me, I was always a staunch feminist from an early age. But again, I grew up in Westchester, very sheltered.
Did your parents back you up on this? Were you like helping them, like, yeah, we will do a Title 10 thing for our daughter who wants to do wrestling only because you told her she could not?
No, although, like, it's so funny because my parents now live on the Upper East Side, and I mean, we're very close. I just came from their apartment, but like, it's not in their
wheelhouse.
No, not in their wheelhouse. But so as growing up in the mid late 90s, I came into the city every weekend with my friends. We thought we were punks. Walk around the city. Times Square looked very different in the late 90s, mid late 90s. And as you know, and I'm sure many of our listeners know, in the 80s and 90s, there was just such a push because of Catherine McKinnon, right? Andrea Dworkin, Gloria Steinem.
Sex work equals slavery.
Sex
Science.
work is slavery, and especially porn, and adult magazines, adult films, and so that was my entry into feminism. Was actually walking around New York City, and there used to be these women that had booths that would have you sign their petition, like women are not meat, women are not to be exploited, and that like called to me as like a 15-year-old, 16-year-old feminist.
Like these street solicitors
crazy
are up to
women screaming about women not being like sexual objects. I'm like, yeah, we're not, right? So I think that that's an important first step in a feminist consciousness. It's not the last step, although for some it is, apparently.
I do think that there is something beyond looking pretty and being desirable to men, which I think gets conflated with both like elements of sex work and objectification. But I think what we don't see that is more prevalent and ultimately more silencing is this ladylike expectation and like the limiting rules that women just operate within because it's their fucking job to be pleasant to every fucking person. Like they're on the market all the fucking time.
And even I see this, and I notice this even in I notice this a lot of times this is where I notice it the most. Equinox locker rooms. Okay? And this is something that drives me up a fucking wall, and this is the politeness
I'm with
thing.
you.
And you probably out of
I'm an Orange Theory girl, but yes, I'm sure it happens there too.
Well, I've see. So here's the difference. So now, as a lawyer, you can pay for Orange Theory. As a comedian who makes very little money on paper but has real good pussy and a couple of rich dudes that enjoy that pussy, I have an Equinox membership, and I also just moved to the Upper East Side in my own apartment. I'm going to hang out with your parents. They can adopt me.
Totally.
Because I'm like, I got an apartment. I have no money for food.
I can hang with Mindy.
Yeah, I'll do it. Ooh, Mindy and Wendi. I like it. It's a sitcom. But women do this, I notice, in the locker rooms there. And if your lockers are close to each other, instead of saying, excuse me, when they want to pass you, they go, hi, my lockers are there. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
That drives me up a wall.
We're sorry about everything.
I'm like, don't apologize. And I will say,
I thought you were going in a completely different direction.
No.
And you're right. That's
but that's the politeness thing that women will do, even to each other, and especially in Equinox, especially in Manhattan, because they still
bitches, you are a member of a power class.
Right. They ascribe to this thing of like, yes, they're in a power class and they have money, but also, and as much as but they still are like, we're women, and a lot of those women are married to wealthy men, and that's why they're there. And so they have this thing of like, I do my hair like this. They'll have the very same looking coat. It's very like Manhattan Stepford. Blend in. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for breathing. I don't want to stand out. I'm just, because if I stand out too much, then I might, then everything falls apart.
And they also look really frigid, but that's like a whole separate thing.
They do.
The Stepford thing is very frigid.
Right. So, but things like that, where like, but as far as like, where people go like, we're not meat, and it's like, okay, but also, but like you said, the ladylike thing really drives me up a wall.
Yeah, the only difference between society ladies and like sex workers is society ladies are under the delusion that they only have to sell themselves once. But like all things are oriented to like, completing and finalizing that fucking sale. And so like it's the same mental break, but I think sex workers have historically freed themselves from that paradigm by going through it and seeing the limitations of it. So
100%.
All right, so you went to Brown University. You majored in feminist studies. You're drawn to the
my
hardcore.
mind was blown there around, wait
Women
a minute.
are people.
Feminism has this so fucking wrong. Like the feminism that, I'm not saying all feminism is not one unilateral thing.
We cover this all the time. The do-gooders are usually wrong.
That I grew up with, right? The white, upper middle class, like 80s and 90s, second wave starting into third, right? Feminism was fucking wrong about sex work, and that I was furious. I was enraged.
You felt betrayed.
I felt really betrayed.
Yeah, because as a slut, right? Or as a slutty presenting person, which no, I'm sorry,
that's amazing. I ready to use that.
Slutty presenting person,
right?
I love
You're
that.
getting a lot of the washback of this whorephobia stuff that's been used historically as a bludgeon to beat the expression out of women.
Yes.
So you're like, I'm not a sex worker.
Right.
You're okay. Great.
I'm not a sex worker. I just dress like one at work.
Exactly.
I just dress like one at the office.
Hashtag white privilege.
It's so funny.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Which I will say, and this is and we've talked about this before, but what is so funny is if we were to go out, in the times when I've gone out, when I would go outside to meet a client, I can remember dressing very little makeup. You dress very demurely. When I'm doing comedy, when I'm doing stuff, and once I stopped dealing with sugar daddies, I was I can dress how I want to dress with this big ass hoops, bright lipstick. I'm I love dressing like a whore, but when I was actually doing sex work, I dressed like a school marm.
Totally. That's really funny. I'm very excited about our next episode because we're going to be revisiting medieval Europe. But it's so funny because a lot of these anti-whore laws end up being used against civilians because civilians don't know to protect themselves from shit. We'll dress conservatively, scoot under the wire, a lot of it.
Right.
But a lot of this anti-slut shaming stuff has historically been used to just police unmarried women. Anyway, we don't...
Totally.
So,
and actually the Venereal Diseases Act.
Yes.
In the turn of the century
the
Europe.
Contagious Diseases Act,
That's
1860s.
that is the thing
Yep.
that blew my mind.
Really?
That changed everything. It was Carolyn Dean, History of Modern Women, sophomore year at Brown University.
Ooh, love a book plug. Go out there.
Well,
educate yourself.
I don't know if that... Anyway, she does have a lot of books. She's a professor.
She's a professor.
Oh, never mind.
But
you're
but
fucked.
it blew
You
my
meant
mind.
to say butt plug. You said book instead. I'm with you.
Okay.
You love. I love a butt plug. Is what
Blew
I
my
love.
mind. So then I was I'm going to go to law school to decriminalize prostitution. And to me, that made sense.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Oh
To
my
me,
God.
it totally made sense.
Of course.
Everyone thought I was insane. I went to Georgetown, which is very buttoned up.
Yeah.
It's not politically conservative. It was actually way more sort of mainstream liberal than I had thought. I was almost envisioning.
Right, but as we've learned recently, mainstream liberals are not our friends.
No, not at all. Certainly not when it comes to sex and sexuality.
Yeah.
Nope.
Or race increasingly, it turns
Or
out.
race.
It's gee, who would have thunk?
Right. So yeah, everyone thought I was fucking crazy. They were like, okay, that's cute.
Out of this. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, that's a great idea. I was 22. They didn't take me seriously at all, but I mean, 16 years later, I haven't decriminalized prostitution, but here I am. I run a nonprofit. I'm a lawyer.
Well, you met Sharmus Outlaw when you were in law school.
I did.
Is that right?
So I actually met her.
No one was taking you seriously except
Sharmus.
It sounds like this incredible advocate and activist.
Totally. So yeah, I had already sort of made some inroads to the New York City harm reduction scene when during college.
Please tell me what your young, enthusiastic, privileged white girl attempts at breaking into the community were, because if they were anything like mine, I bet they were hilariously
how did this
wrong.
work? So you walked in.
You just start marching down the street going,
I
what? How do you?
I had during college. I had two because I always came back to New York. So because Providence in the summer, what's happening there? But anyway, I would come back to New York. So I worked at Frosted, which is now part of Harlem United. But at the time, I don't know if you guys know the history of Frosted.
No.
That should be a whole other
episode. We will delve into
because
that.
Dr. Joyce, visionary.
Okay.
But an interesting character, as so many people in the movement are. Yeah. She was a doctor that just was literally had a car and condoms and fucking drove around the city to strolls and like did medical checks on sex workers, on street-based sex workers. Frosted.
Holy shit.
From Our Streets with Dignity. Or the Foundation for Research on Sexually Transmitted Diseases. Either way, it's Frosted. It's now Frosted was acquired by Harlem United a couple of years back.
Okay.
But Melissa Ditmore and I were talking about this, in the late 90s, we knew each other because of Frosted.
That's great.
Because of Priscilla Alexander.
So she was like, you're the real deal. This isn't a paper. You're not doing research with, you're not a whorephobic researcher.
Right. I randomly contacted Priscilla Alexander, who I need to connect with. She's
Who is that?
Amazing. She was one of the first sort of that generation of white feminists.
Yeah.
Who was like, oh, wait, sex work is awesome and sex work
It's
is
weird
work.
how we're bulldozing over women while claiming to empower them while they scream for us to please stop stomping them literally to death. That's weird. It's weird. You almost hear the faint cries of people begging to live outside of us knowing better.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. And so, I worked with Priscilla at Frosted where they were doing amazing, really street-based mobile harm reduction work.
Cool.
And then I also worked at the Gay Men's Health Crisis at the Women in Action program, which also was serving people who impacted by HIV, drugs, and sex work, specifically women. So during college, I did that stuff. Mm-hmm. So then when I went to law school, I sort of definitely had my intention, and I ended up going to this cool sex worker event in New York City the summer before I started law school. Mm-hmm. And Sharmus spoke or performed. I don't know. It was so long ago, but I went up to her after as eager, I was 22, 23. Right. And I was like, hi, I'm moving to, DC next month or whatever it was. And I'm starting law school and I really want to volunteer somewhere. And she was so cool and totally open to it.
Yeah.
And I joke all the time now that if I was that age now and trying to enter into this movement now, I would have been eaten alive. I would have not. There's no way in hell
somebody would have been like, no, fuck you,
yes.
get out,
yes.
you're wrong.
Yes.
And maybe you were, but you're also young and dumb, and we have to afford everyone that, even if they're, whatever.
There's no way
if they're irritating to you viscerally.
Really? No, why do you think that?
It's a different movement. It's a completely different movement. Okay. I mean, this was the early 2000s, so a little over 15 years ago. Now, identity politics is the pivotal,
and it's I feel like I in a way bore witness to one of those pivotal moments. I saw Monica Jones's speech at the Desiree Alliance, and I feel like a lot looking at this organization and a lot of the breaking away and coming together of the sex worker movement has been along the lines of race and class, and that fundamentally privileged sex workers operating within a criminalized world want something different than people who are doing survival work that are suffering under sort of intersectional oppression. Yeah. Right. And I saw that speech to Monica Jones, and it started a nationwide conversation from well-funded, mostly white, mostly cis, out of the ecosystem of sex worker nonprofit. Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about how your personal relationship with Sharmus and now
quick,
SOAR.
I just want to because I don't know who Monica Jones is. Just for the people listening.
Fair, reasonable.
Who's Monica Jones?
Do you want to take that?
Sure. Yeah, Monica Jones is a wonderful activist, social worker, leader in the movement. She's a Black trans woman. She was arrested in Arizona. She's Arizona based a couple of years back, and
for walking while trans.
Walking while trans, right? Which for listeners that don't know what that is, it's like driving while Black, right? You're a trans person walking down the street. Oh, you must be loitering for the purpose of engaging in prostitution.
Right. Because why would you be out?
Right.
You I don't need toilet paper.
Right. It's like when I walk around with 8 bags of cocaine and they're like, are you going to sell this? And I'm like, no, asshole. I have a busy work week. Okay. Yeah. Tell me what I can and can't do with this cocaine. This is Mama's got 3 shows every night this week. Okay, so she gave the speech.
So she gave a speech, Desiree,
essentially, and so that kind of I just want to put into lay terms for myself and for other people listening, because like you said, and even you can even see with the sex workers that came out with the Trump thing, where they made points to say where they were like, well, but he didn't pay us, and you can kind of feel, and even with the sugar bait, with the sugar daddy stuff, that they'll be like, well,
it's not like he leaves cash in an envelope; he deposits it directly into my account.
Right.
It's different.
Right.
But because when you're trying to be oh, I'm a high-end escort, or I'm a high-end sugar babe, but then
it's a distancing thing.
You're well, but I'm not the same as the trans Black lady walking down the street leaning into cars. It's no, that is the same thing. It's the same job.
Well, and you just have a different identity.
You have a different identity, and guess what? You should be all helping each other, because you know what I'm saying. So Monica Jones, so her speech was
encapsulated.
Yeah,
right?
encapsulated
what was happening.
It was a moment that I was brand new to sex work. I invited myself to Desiree Alliance.
Oh, awesome!
Because I'm have the most privileged story for sex. It literally turned me on, and I wanted it, and I went out there and fucking did it. Like, and then, but then that felt like it opened up this new dimension because I was like, everyone around me is so wrong about this thing in dumb and obvious ways.
Yeah.
They must be wrong about other things. And I think that's something that's really cool about the trans community, especially, is like once you walk away from concepts like gender, other concepts like money is the best way to measure things get like easier to rethink. But so anyway, I
think identity is so important.
It is so important. Absolutely.
But I've also seen it be used as a sword and a shield.
Yeah, absolutely.
Within the movement.
So I invited myself to Desiree as a like, I'm talking about this thing that I don't actually know anything about. Let me go introduce myself to people and like try to get educated about this thing because I want to be speaking to it like on a larger and a bigger way. Right? Cool, awesome, fine.
Yeah.
And then this, Monica Jones is giving a speech during the Desiree Alliance days after Sharmus Outlaw has passed.
Yes.
And she was a huge part of making the Desiree Alliance happen.
Yes.
So we have people who are in a state of grief
at
a thing that this incredibly charismatic, dynamic, helpful person, big picture person in the community did.
Yeah.
And then there's this like unexamined fault line within the community that is unaddressed. And Monica Jones just shatters that.
Yeah.
As a like, no, you bitches didn't do enough and you're not doing enough. And you can pat yourselves on the back, but it's not a fucking enough. And that message seems to have been heard in a lot of ways. Yeah.
I mean, I think for so many reasons, obviously, I am probably, if you ask most people, the wrong person to ask about identity. Because if we're going to play the, oppression Olympics, I lose.
Right.
Hands down every time. And nor
I was going to say, because you think you're Mariah Carey in the 90s. I'm just in love with your hair and earrings. And I meant that as a compliment. I meant that as I'm the wrong person to ask about identity politics because I think I'm about to go film Loverboy the music video.
We're all bitches sitting around.
You're so sexy and I'm in love with you.
Yeah, but we're all bitches sitting around in pajamas recording a podcast on a weekday. So like we're all, we're all nailing it.
Totally. Yeah. No, totally. So I'm definitely not, I have a very particular perspective on it as a very, privileged white person, of course, but also as somebody that has been in the movement a long time. And has seen, and as an attorney. And I only state that because I think, as an attorney, I have ethical boundaries.
Yep.
And I think that boundaries are a very big theme in this movement.
Yes.
Not surprisingly.
Of course.
But I think that there is a role and a place for allies and for lawyers that are allies. For doctors that are allies. Like Dr. Joyce, right? And maybe I'm saying it selfishly, right? Because I'm an ally who's a lawyer.
You want there to be a place for you in this community.
Totally.
But also,
I think that like there needs to, rather than say like you are this and therefore bad.
Yes.
It is like, no, this is your role. And I think so. I think the identity piece is so important and it is so pivotal, but there are also, we need to have honest conversations about it.
Yes.
Rather than public shaming,
right.
social media shaming, using, throwing a label at somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I hear this a lot, and I kind of get it. And also, as a professional provocateur and like professional pissant myself, I'm kind of attuned to like the thing. Like, I hate it. Like, sitting in the room was a very uncomfortable experience for me because I'm like, what do you mean I didn't do enough? I just got here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what this is. Right. I'm just here. And it was very uncomfortable. And there was a lot of chatter around, well, she's right, but da da da. Right. And also I've seen the fruits of that discomfort and the fruits of that thing of like being a bit of a tone shift. And also, I'm very much sitting out here on the outskirts of like, as a comic speaking exclusively for myself. So it's like, I don't know.
No, and I think, again, I obviously come from a very privileged position identity-wise, but I've also been able to see the trajectory of the movement. And I think there's been wonderful strides and shifts, but I also think that there's been steps backwards.
Well, yeah, and there's
for sure, and fractures that don't need to have happened.
Yeah, because it seems like there ought to be room for a deeply cooperative place, because I think that it's the responsibility. So this is something that I've seen you do, or you actually might not be aware of this, but like Cann told a story about the form that your support took when she was trying to exercise her legal right to file a complaint against a violent assailant and was being told that was not her legal right. And then you were able to step in as an attorney and also a white lady that could be heard in that atmosphere and say, you're objectively wrong about
a cop
thing.
is not going to attack me.
Right. Yeah.
And I know that.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing too, and it sounds shitty to say, but also you got to be realistic about it, because you look at, even for me, and this is as a white person, but I grew up I'm not rich at all now by any stretch of the imagination, but I grew up, we were like very poor. Like my family, I grew up in poverty for the most of my childhood. So having that, even no matter how I look, that's kind of always, I feel that on me. I feel like people can smell like the trailer grease, right? On me. But so then even to get into certain restaurants or have access to certain parts of society, I need to be escorted by somebody with money who feels entitled to be there. Right. So I'm not going to get, even if I look a certain way, but you've got to go in, you know, and so, but that works in all different parts of society. And so even if we're talking about sex workers, where you go like, oh, I'm a white privileged lawyer, I'm a lawyer lady, so I can't. It's like, no, we actually need you.
Right.
And we need people in places that are like, quote, the privilege identity. Because even though it seems shitty, it's like, if we all become one unit. Yeah. We need to help pull each other up and protect each other.
One ecosphere, one ecosystem, you know, one family. Actually, it was funny. I was reading this article about Sharmus Outlaw to prepare for this episode, and they talked about how we, meaning the sex worker community, and I think this is sort of speaking to some of the tension that you're talking about, is that, you know, families, we come together, we eat, we drink, and we talk about the hard stuff. And I was like, oh, no. I come from a WASPy family. We do not do that. Is actually,
I'm a Jew. That's all we do.
Oh, well, you were saying, and this is something that I feel like I share with you.
Stop kvetching.
It's like I am more out to my audiences of strangers than I am to my parents. And like they know, and like, but we've only had very short conversations about like, what are you doing? I'm like, blah, 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 sex worker activism. Right. And then they're like, okay, and we'll be having chicken at 4.
Right.
So, like, you know, and it's interesting, and like that dynamic, and like anyway.
They're like, what are you doing? Sex for activism. Oh no, we meant like, what are you doing right now? Like, are you sitting? Are you standing? Jesus Christ, wrong number.
Information.
I know.
Tell her chicken's at 5. Who will be gone before?
When I not to go too much in the identity piece, I want to get back to Sharmus, but just to, you know, as an example, like my being Jewish in the radical left, right, has been an issue in the last couple of years, where I'm like, what, am I fucking running the government of Israel? Like, I live here. Right. I'm not Israeli. I'm not like, there's so I guess my critique of identity politics in the radical left is that it cuts both ways. Yep. And it's often misinformed. Yes. You know, so I think it's you know, and to literally have seen people
it's flattening,
spreading rumors about my beliefs around Israel. I'm like, I don't have fucking beliefs about Israel.
Can you point it out on a map? I'm not confident. All right.
Right. You know, because I'm a Jew, and then making assumptions about my family. Sure. I mean, I literally had like a former coworker be like, no one in your family has ever suffered oppression, which is hilarious to say to a Jew, first of all. Right. First of all, but like also just even looking at my immediate family, like my parents did not grow up wealthy at all. So like, I don't even need to go back many, I mean, I'm not claiming any kind of oppression here. I'm just saying that there is like, no, it's a very unilateral way. Oh, Jews in New York. Oh, you guys have a lot of power and privilege, which is true. However, there's a complex history to the stories, and it's a very recent story. So anyway, I guess like my perspective on the identity politics sort of issue within the movement is it's incredibly important, but I don't love the way in which we're having those conversations.
It's opening up conversations and spaces and concepts, and it's also having
but it's closing it as well.
It's closing other kinds of conversations.
Well, it's like throwing a bomb in the room and walking away. Yeah. Rather than sitting and saying, let's talk about where you come from and where I come from and where you come from and what that means and what that looks like. And no, we're not having any of those conversations. We're shaming each other online.
Well, the thing too, when you talk about the oppression thing, and Kaytlin and I, and on the show, people have heard, like we've had conversations, but I think here's the difference is when people, because having come from, you know, and even though I'm white, but coming from like pretty extreme poverty, and my parents coming from that background, that's then to engage in a conversation with someone who grew up mostly privileged. Now we have different ideas about like work and wealth sharing and things like that. You know, and so, But here's what people have to do.
Cultures brushing up against each other can be weird, regardless of what it is.
But the issue is people become so precious about, and I understand, like you said, identity is important, and it's very important. And that's as human beings, that's how we, and that's what animals do, right? Mm-hmm. So we go like, oh, this group is similar to this, and you want to be with like people, right? Yeah. But the difference is people become so precious about protecting their thoughts and people don't want to feel like they're bad people.
Right.
And so if somebody challenges something that you're saying, or maybe point something out like Monica did, where she's like, you guys aren't doing enough. I think the immediate response is to be like, well, it's to be like, yes, I am. Shut up. Sure. Yes, huh? Yes, hi. Shut up. You're just mad because, but it's like, no.
Defensiveness is a deeply understandable natural human response.
This is all very psychological.
Right. Oh, yeah, of course. And it is. But then you become defensive. But then the other thing, and I think, and with comedy too, this is where my brain is a little bit different, and like why that's why I love doing stand up, and I have a small group of friends that I hang out with, because to me,
hate every, or just find, it's uncomfortable.
It's not that I don't like other people. I think that most people don't like being around me because
you're off script,
and I'm not precious about anything. Yeah, I make fun of myself. I don't take myself seriously. If someone says something that is like offensive to me, I'm not like, now I feel like my feelings. It's hard to hurt my feelings, because to me
it is very hard to hurt mine too.
I go back and forth between like, maybe we're in a simulation, but I also like. I'm not on mushrooms or acid. That's a sober thought I've had since I was a child. Yeah. So I like to be around people that don't take themselves so seriously.
Right.
And a lot of times the people, and we've talked about this, especially as you get into wealth and privilege and class. Yeah. The further up that ladder you climb, the more you realize, it's all kind of bullshit anyway.
The more high and mighty.
So you have to really be protective of yourself and be defensive, because you're like, well, if we make eye contact. Yeah. And talk to the woman. If I put my own towels in the bin at Equinox and I don't make the woman working here do it, then we're
what
equals.
What does this even mean?
Right.
Then we're equals. And then is it really worth my husband paying $270 a month for this? Right. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, so you kind of have to be that way.
Yeah. That's weird.
So I understand that people get defensive, but then and that's a natural response. But then it's like anything else you have. It's like fear. It's fear based.
Totally.
And it's fear based on both sides. And I do think I hear this criticism a lot, and I think I appreciate it because I can see a different example of it. You know what I mean? I think people are afraid of the word racist.
Yes.
In a way that some men are afraid of the word rapist, without being willing to like take a little bit of a step back and talk about, and then it's a weird conversation. It's like men are more afraid of rape than women are, even though they're never victimized by it. And so white people end up becoming more afraid of racism as a label, not being able to fully see that they're not the ones suffering under the system. So it's like, but I think that those are nice parallels of,
if we all acknowledge that we all hold deeply rooted prejudices.
Yeah, right. And here's another
do.
And I'm not trying to compare, but this is a very kind of like straight across the board, like metaphor. But if you were attacked by there are people that have an irrational fear of dogs.
Yes.
Okay. Because if you were, whether it's from like something in your brain or like my mom was attacked by a dog when she was a kid, chomped on her leg, and so she sees a dog.
She gave that gift to you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not afraid of dogs. I've been attacked by dogs twice, like bit where it drew blood, and it was scared me. But like I don't care. But I also whenever I look at I'm a weirdo. Like I look at dogs right in the face, and I'm like, you don't fucking scare me. You know what I'm saying?
Whereas
like
they see me and they know I'm fucking terrified.
Well, they can smell your fear, right? But it's like, so if you've had a bad experience, and this can go anyway, if you have an experience with like walking down as a woman walking down the street late at night, and you're by yourself, and I see a group of men, I don't care what color you are, I'm walking to the other side of the street. I do not feel safe. Because you're a man. But so, you know what I'm saying? And so then that's like a gender discrimination. But it's like, and even if the guy's like, we're not going to rape you, it's like, well, I don't know that.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm trying to protect myself. Right. And so
you're not going to announce it to me if you are.
Right.
And that's not how things work.
Right. And if, and so you look at, and so like, and that's why like you look at different races, people that were like oppressed and had like by white people, which is like almost every race other than white.
Of course.
So you see how there's a natural...
And even within that, there's a lot of...
Of course. And so there's a natural... so you have a natural thing to be like, fucking goddamn white people.
Right.
Do you know? And that's not... And that's okay. And so, but it's... But if people admit that, but that's the problem is when you go like, nope, I've never... It's like, first of all... Right. So now you're not going to solve it because you're not admitting...
Well,
Well, then you'd be
that's
on
a problem.
Fox
And
News,
that's one of the
right?
things-
Isn't that what they say all the time? We're colorblind over here.
I know.
One of the quotes that seems to be highlighted that captures a lot of, I think, the genius behind Sharmus Outlaw and the work that she did was like, before I'm trans, before I'm a sex worker, I'm a human being.
Yes.
And I think that that is something that's integral to this work. And so I'd love to talk to you about who she who they were and like what the Institute of SOAR is and how this is a continuation of both your life's work and also Sharmus's.
So I mean, Sharmus, as I said before, she was the person that opened up the door for me personally to the DC sex worker activist community.
Right.
If I hadn't met her, in New York at this event, I don't
probably been a big firm with like a weird like fetish for, I don't know, like bow ties or something, anything to fill the void. Sorry.
Totally. But she was so welcoming and warm, and that is my feeling about like my sort of the way I feel about Sharmus, wanting to impart what her vision and her feeling and that she gave out to people is a sense of warmth, unity, community, and openness. Very similar to Cann. And I think that's why I was so close with Sharmus and I'm so close with Cann.
Yeah, Cann opened the door for me. I literally wandered up to her, I think at the Desiree Alliance, and was like, hey, so like I just heard this speech and I was thinking, like, I don't have any black friends. I feel weird about that. Like, I feel like there's like a bunch of shit that I don't see. I swear to God, this is the real conversation that I have with Cann. And Cann, like, God bless her, saw me in that moment. It was like, I think you must be autistic. Come this way and we will talk about how you think you can help. And we've it's been
I mean, Kyan's got to be that's why Kyan's the coolest motherfucker. I cannot. Can you imagine?
Can you imagine? I know.
Can you imagine?
Hi, I've never had a pour from before. Do you want to hang out?
Fuck you. Buy me something. All right.
Yeah.
After we get drunk together for the first time, we're going to talk about tokenism. But
just
to get this started, let's start with martinis. You're buying. This episode is sponsored by Velvet Swing, which is a cannabis-enhanced lube that is very nice.
Ooh.
You should follow the founder. This is a whore-owned and operated business.
Okay.
Mistress Matisse on Twitter. So buying this product supports not just your own sex life, but also the sex worker rights movement. Mistress Matisse is a big deal.
Thank you, Mistress.
Yes, you can follow Mistress Matisse at Mistress, Mistreess, Matisse, Matisse.
Yeah, you know why we feel so good? Because while you were in the kitchen about 10 minutes ago before we recorded this, I took that cannabis lube and I jammed it in my butthole. I'll tell you, not the thing.
How do you feel?
Amazing.
Right? You feel relaxed?
I feel my butthole feels great.
Your butthole feels relaxed?
Oh my God, I didn't even think about this. This would be great for anal.
Of course. Yeah, you can't overestimate the importance of a relaxed butthole.
I love anal already. I'm going to be squirting all over the wall if I put some... Okay, now I do want to wrap this because I want to go get fucked.
Velvet Swing, so you can get high while getting down.
No, but I mean, I think it's this
best.
And I think that like it's a generational thing of like, especially Black trans women who would be in their or in the 50s now, right, where it is this idea, right? What they were coming up, and and still are, just trying to survive,
right?
Right? At like, and it's not, I'm not saying that to say then they accept anyone that accepts them. No, but it is definitely more of a,
once she established that you were not horphobic,
right?
It was like all of the other obstacles are overcomeable.
Yeah.
It's like once you established yourself as like open, she was like, nobody is perfect. Totally. You are young. Young people are dumb.
Right.
We can move forward from the premise of like, I'm a person, you're a person.
Totally. Right. Yeah. And that I had obviously a certain skill set, or was going to attain a certain skill set hopefully in law school, although who knows what I attained in law school. But, I mean, the most meaningful thing for me that, and I mean, I actually love Georgetown Law School. I had a really great educational experience, but because I'm a dork. I'm such a nerd. But what was the most meaningful and beautiful to me was working at different avenues, with Sharmus, with Penny, and with Darby, with Erica, Bonnie, the whole DC crew. So if any of you guys are listening, I love you.
Those are all sex workers.
Those are all sex work activists in DC, and Cindy Clay, who runs HIPS. Just phenomenal.
So the people who are on the ground dealing with like trying to respond to their community in a real way, which is very different than the kinds of like official stuff that you were probably being exposed to through your university of like, so, and just being able to see with clarity that distinction, I think must have been very powerful for you.
And so I immediately contacted Sharmus and Penelope Saunders when I got to DC, and they said, sure, come on by to our office. I mean, they must have thought I was bananas. Actually, it was funny. Penny was telling me the other day, like, she's like, you just were so nervous. But like, I show up and they're like, okay, like, you have time, you have a car. Fuck yeah.
These are resources.
Yeah. Right. You and Darby, who is, amazing and phenomenal leader in DC for the trans community and activist community, now works for a council member, is pushing forward decrim in DC. We like literally would get in my car like once a week and go hand out condoms at a bunch of like urban strip clubs in DC. And I mean, which looking back, I was like, oh, like, maybe, I don't know if like two skinny white, white women, running around like handing out condoms. But I mean, it was fine. It was totally fine. It was really, an eye-opening experience. And it was also, I remember telling one of my law professors, my favorite professor, Georgetown Professor Neil Katyal, also so cute. But he became the like assistant Solicitor General under Obama. Like he's a really high but I remember talking to him about decrim prostitution. He was like, open to the idea. I'm not saying publicly that he would like support about it, but I remember telling him what I did.
Your letters.
Right.
Remind him.
No, she's saying publicly. That sounds like an official statement from whatever his name is.
His office actually told her to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
He does not work for the government.
Spokeswoman for
he does not work for the government. He's clearly does
and
not
you said he worked for Barack, so Barack Obama is also
on
board.
Official position. But I remember telling Professor Katyal about going around to these clubs and handing out condoms, and he was like, are you okay? Like, But like it was for me at the time, and the work that I had done in New York was the same. It was mobile, outreach. Like, here's a fucking condom. Here's a clean needle. Here's whatever is needed.
Yeah, what do you need? You tell us
pure
what you
harm
need. We'll try to
reduction.
get it.
I'm a people person.
Right.
I love people. Almost the opposite of what you guys are saying.
I love people. They don't like me.
Yeah. But I like people in large groups when they have to sit there and listen to me. It's the one-on-one shit that I find so exhausting.
I know. I mean, but the thing too, like with passing out, like and passing out condoms and clean needles and things, that does so many. Like you're saying where it's like two skinny white women. Yeah. But it's something that you probably experienced. I mean, but something like that. Even like as a kid, if someone sees you doing, if you're like smoking cigarettes, you're doing whatever, and they're like, hey, knock that off. Even if strangers like shouldn't smoke, part of me is like, don't boss me around. But I'm like, oh, somebody gives a shit. You know what I'm saying? So you're actually, the harm reduction is in both ways, because one is like, here's an actual physical thing to keep you physically alive. But then the feeling of like, because even though in theory it might be like, oh, these people trying to help me, but when you're like in that situation, in like where you're doing survival sex work and you see people from a college with a car show up, and then part of you goes like, oh, so people know I'm here.
Right. Yes. That are there. Yeah.
Yes. That's a nice feeling of like resources. A lifeline. So like, okay, so I've got a place to go. So it's helpful in so many ways.
And I've always seen myself as being someone that, wants, I'm not fucking Captain Save-A-Ho. I'm not trying to rescue anybody. But I have resources. I have knowledge. I have resources. I have privilege. What can I do?
Yeah, you're like 1 degree of separation away from Barack fucking Obama.
Well,
this is, I mean,
but like, no, I mean, I like going to Brown and Georgetown Law, and I mean, I have all these like, and growing up in Scarsdale, like all these like fancy, connections, people at high level government and media, and people with a lot of money, and
we get it. The media. You're a Jew. Jesus Christ, we already talked about
it. because I'm a Jew, we own everything. Apparently. But like, you know, so
just do it with your magic Jew powers.
Is that not my horns? Right. My mom in college, she went to Queens College. My parents grew up in Queens, but she spent a semester upstate. And her roommate was literally like, well, where are your horns? Wow. Anyway. But
these people, I just found out through DNA that I'm like 10% like Ashkenazi Jew or something like that.
Awesome.
My people, I've
You come from a long line of people that just fucked whoever.
Yeah, they just fucked whoever. They were just like, I'm just trying to find a place to stay. Right. That's the fun thing. You're like, I was poor white trash. Turns out I'm poor white and Jewish trash.
Love it.
So the joke is on you guys.
I love it. I need to do. I mean, I'm sure I'm like 100% like Russian.
I'm sure I'm 100% Westchester Jew.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to be like Russian, Polish, Hungarian. Like, not interesting at all. Like, I think it's going to be those 3 countries of origin. But anyway, so I, you know, that work in DC was pivotal, and it's remained pivotal in my life. I mean, DC is moving to decriminalize prostitution, and just knowing a lot of the players, not all the players. I've been out of DC since 2006, but you know, knowing a lot of the players that are involved in that because of Sharmus.
Right.
Opening that door for me and welcoming me, you know, like, you know,
that's incredible.
Incredible.
Very
really
generous.
is.
Very generous of them. So
Yeah.
I know that Sharmus is from North Carolina.
Yes.
What,
yes.
I don't know much of her story. I know about the work that she's done.
Yes.
But I don't know much of her story. Like, where's she from? What was she about? What was her journey?
Yeah. You know, I don't know too much about sort of Sharmus pre sort of like her activist life, and her family life,
well,
and
she was in activism for 25
right.
of her 50, so half her life.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, a huge amount of her life. But you know, I think what was really incredible about Sharmus is that she, you know, especially so the DC community, you know, DC is such an interesting city because, right, it's political and it's conservative, it's really stuffy, it's really uptight. But it also, there's an immense amount of poverty. There's a huge African-American population. There's a huge trans community. And so I think the Black trans community in DC has been a very strong community. And it's because of people like Sharmus, people like Gigi, people like Erica, right? And so I think because of this amazingly strong leadership in that community, it's helped to shape a national and I would say international movement around trans rights, around sex workers' rights, around health and human rights for trans individuals. And so I think Sharmus played a pivotal role in shaping that leadership and shaping that narrative in bringing these issues to a national stage. She served, as you had mentioned before, as the co-director of Desiree Alliance with Chris Sardina for many years.
And what did Desiree Alliance do? What was that?
So Desiree Alliance is a national organization that does many things, one of which is to put forward a conference that's either every 2 years, every 3 years. And, but within that, you know, there's also, because it's sort of a national conference, it has a national and more sort of like global perspective than a lot of the sort of like more local, right? A lot of us here in New York, we look at what's happening in New York, or just Desiree, you know, can really have the vantage point of looking at what's going on.
Let's get all you bitches together.
Let's get all you bitches together.
Exactly. Right, let's make sure we're all on the same page.
Right. Yeah, let's have some hard conversations.
Totally. And
let's talk about what we do. Yeah, let's drink and break bread and party and make eye contact and solidify the bonds for this fight that is a multi-generational, possibly timeless battle.
Timeless. And I think Sharmus, you know, Desiree and Sharmus really played a really important role, and Chris too, when they took over Desiree, which I don't know the exact year, because I remember, you know, it was founded by Stacy.
Well, if you're wrong, you will be fined. So
yeah, seriously,
that's important.
Like, I don't know that year, but it definitely was a paradigm shift that I think is sort of signaled what was starting to happen in the movement, which is around identity.
Yeah,
and I think, you know, Sharmus was the perfect choice because she's a Black trans woman, but, you know, who had experienced, you know, violence, discrimination from every arena of her life. A Black trans woman in the South, right? From a family that, I don't know how religious her family was, but their, you know, religion was certainly a component. And just also look at the timing, how different things were 30, 40
years
ago.
That's 3 strikes. I mean, as far as society being in the South, back then it's like, you're black. Damn it. You're a woman. Son of a bitch. And you're trans. Damn it. Son of a bitch.
You're fucked.
Yeah.
You're totally fucked. And so I think that resilience.
No wonder it's a tight-knit community.
That resilience and that strength and the openness to allyship.
Yeah, young, dumb 22-year-olds. Yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
I have 3 extra condoms. Do you know anyone who wants these?
And I have a car.
And look at my hair.
And so I think that there was this sense of this openness of, okay, these are people that want to come together and want to work together. And I think, having Sharmus and Chris as the co-coordinators or co-directors of Desiree was really pivotal moment because they both came from more marginalized backgrounds and sort of diverse perspectives. Although, I mean, Desiree's, Stacy and Susan are fantastic as well, of course. And so I think, Sharmus was really pivotal in moving that narrative within Desiree and nationally.
And I know that she was beloved. And I know that like the Washington Post acknowledged her work in sex work sort of surreptitiously by just listing the organizations she was in. But, she's done a lot for a lot of different communities. And as the co-founder and co-director of SOAR, you're hoping to continue that work. So 100%. You're a lawyer.
Yes.
And you've partnered with a
therapist.
Therapist and social worker. And so what kinds of services is SOAR currently offering, and what kinds of services is SOAR hoping to offer in the future? And how can our listeners support you?
Sure. So in about a year ago, Crystal, who was still, she had just was leaving the Sex Workers Project, and we were chatting. We always had a great relationship together. Talked about starting our new organization, and we were talking about names. What should we name our organization? It was last spring. And I kept going back and forth about naming the organization after Sharmus. I wanted to. I mean, there was never a question in my mind of like my intention to do that, but I was extremely nervous about how it would be received.
Right.
About 2 white women, although Crystal and I come from very different backgrounds. And,
she's from outside of Westchester.
She's from she's not from Scottsdale. Okay. She's from the other side of the chestnut. She's a Midwesterner, actually. But,
what we refer to as the flyovers.
Yeah, exactly. I've never been to the Midwest. No, I haven't been to the Midwest. But
so, like, not LA. I'm confused.
I know. Wait, yeah.
Not LA or New York. We're
New
confused.
York City, LA.
And then
what else?
Ibiza?
Yeah. But, we obviously, like, outwardly facing, right, of course, have a lot of privilege and professional degrees, et cetera, et cetera. So, we both really struggled with that, and what did it for me was turning to Sharmus's close community and getting approval. Really.
Yeah.
That was what did it for me, because I was terrified of especially after, being the target of a lot of, I guess, ire around my identity. I did not want this decision to bring.
It's one thing to be attacked by misogynistic trolls, and it's a completely other thing to be attacked by the community that you are seeking to help or to build a relationship where there are people that you think of as being peers within your own community. It's a different, it's a different thing.
And you
like
can
neo-Nazis, call my cunt all you want.
Totally.
That gives me power.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Totally.
But
it makes me come harder. That's my.
Yeah.
I absolutely masturbate to the negative threads on Reddit.
I look on Twitter.
Yeah. They shut down their erotic services section, but I'm still coming hard to insults.
Yeah. Subreddit now will not have sex. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting because if you look historically, and that's even like with the CDC Act, when you look at that was the same. You had the same kind of thing where you had like the cops trying to just like put whores away, and then the feminists, the white feminists, being like, so we're gonna help you. So there's that like
by
we were
poisoning
before
you
about
with
like
mercury
the dog
and giving
biting.
you a Bible.
Totally.
Right. That's with like the dog bite thing earlier. That's there's this thing ingrained historically when you're like a
Reasonably
non-white,
so.
where you have a white lady being like, "Hey, I want to help you guys. Come here," and you're like, "Fuck you!
Right,
you're gonna put me in church and
I'm gonna
give
be
me
poorer. I'm gonna be more isolated, and I might
right." Where it's like, no. I'm trying to get you to live longer and suck even more dick. If
and luckily, as a Jew, we never try to convert people.
I know. Good. That's so important.
Although
and
Cann
helpful.
is totally an honorary Jew, but like that,
I
can see that conversation. Totally. I mean, that's why we're like,
she's great.
yeah. I mean, she's like, anyway. I mean,
we're all going drinking when she gets back.
Yeah.
All right. So
anyway, you get approval from.
I got approval. I spoke with Kaytlin, Tiami, Penny, Darby, like all. I'm not listing everybody, of course, but people that were part of Sharmus's inner circle. Yep. Jill, all of us that were there, in the last moments, of her life, and they were all resoundingly really excited about it, because they all know me and they all know Sharmus, and then I was like, okay, well, if other people are going to be upset, then but I believe, of course I don't know, but that Sharmus would have been so excited about this, right? Have some rich white bitch from Georgetown Law School, like having, this
continuing her work that specifically, I mean, it's not like you're a rich white bitch raising money in Sharmus's name to help other rich white bitches do rich white bitch things.
No.
I mean, like you're helping the community.
Totally. It's the same goals. It's the same vision, same ideas.
So what are the services that are available?
So the services that are available at SOAR are, there's sort of four different ways, different things that we are doing in four sort of categories. The first is while we are not a direct service organization, I'm still an attorney, Crystal's still a therapist, and we maintain separate outside of our purview as co-directors. I'm still a lawyer. She is still a social worker. So we are still fielding calls for sort of brief legal advice and referrals. She is,
so
calls.
you can refer to direct services for legal and social work. Great.
100%.
Okay. So it's a good phone number.
Definitely good. You can always call us, email us. info@soarinstitute.org. 100% we will get back to you right away and figure out the best way to assist you.
Great.
Cool. The second thing that we're doing is definitely policy, right? There are some things going on in New York State that we're trying to push through, and I feel like that's a whole separate podcast.
Sure.
But just
but you're there as lobbyists in a way to speak
as
for
experts that have been in the field and done direct client work for a very long time. And we've seen the frustration. And I have so many friends that are public defenders, and I love them to death. And I don't know how, it's like they are doing the greatest work in so many ways, but then they're like, look within this system that is just fucked up. And I think Crystal and I were also seeing that, even though we're not, we weren't as much in the trenches as public defenders, but seeing everyone coming through arrest after arrest, rape, trauma, how can we take a step back and change things on a broad level? So that second piece is definitely sort of policy and advocacy. How do we shift laws, right? The third thing, and I personally am an expert on vacating convictions for survivors of trafficking. So I, have done a lot of work in New York and then, around the country as well. And then the third thing that we're doing is, and this has really been the bulk of our work. I probably should have said it first, but here we are. Is capacity building, right? Is
what does that mean?
And I know that sounds really amorphous, but I can give you sort of two concrete examples. Okay. Is we do have this privilege to be two, white, privileged, professional women with all of these years in the nonprofit world under our belt, right? We have that.
Which opens up avenues to grant writing.
Totally. Exactly.
Compliance.
Space. We can literally host meetings, like all of the meetings.
See, back to the space thing. You can get, this is a full circle as a motherfucker. I love it. I'm space. I was like, she is planning a rocket army.
Sorry.
It's a horse-based army.
We're going to have a horse-based army.
But as far as something simple, like you don't even think about we need a conference room to have a meeting.
100%. I mean, so Cann, Cann and I are so tight that, basically Glitz was just being essentially housed in our space, right? I mean, we had a bunch of fundraising meetings and then the December 17th work group, which
there's a lot of willful barriers in the way
100%
for people in marginalized communities access that have a lot to do with forms and compliance and access to dumb, shitty,
I hate that
bureaucrat.
shit too, but I can at least
but your organization has developed a wealth and depth of knowledge on how to navigate those barriers.
Yes. So it's like, come, we will take notes. We will provide snacks. We will say, let's do, these are the 5 things that need to be done to make December 17th or March 3rd or whatever.
What I'm hearing is, what it sounds like you need is Y.
Yeah, exactly.
People that provide Y are, X,
100%.
Now, go snacks. What kind of snacks are we talking about?
Exactly.
They're good
snacks.
Well, I just had this, and this is like...
As a Jewish mom, I'm all about feeding people all the time.
Oh my God. See, that's the best part. Well, as far as the paperwork thing, and this is, and I'm a white person, but I was off the grid. Comedian is almost more difficult, but with my apartment that I just got, I finally got my own place.
Yes.
I had to pay, and I knew this is the only way to do it. I got a short-term sublet. Or not sublet, but a short-term lease, and I paid for everything up front because I was like, okay, on paper,
I have nothing.
On paper, I'm not even in the system. I've been like renting rooms, but it is. There's so much, and I'm not even going to act like. And I thought about this, especially more from doing this podcast. But I thought about if I was not a white Eastern European looking bitch.
No, there's no way. Yeah.
You know, and I was able to go and thankfully, and I've been able, and I have access to, like, I was able to take a loan out for some money, and I've been saving money from like between comedy and like the sugar daddies that I used to have. But it was really funny because he said to me, he goes, as much proof of income as you have. And so I sent him like a poster for this movie that's coming out because I have the advance. Nice. They're about to close on that. Thank God. But I'm like, I have money coming in. I just need my own place. But I'm like, no one's gonna. I know I make enough to pay for this.
How do you? Yeah.
But so I was like, this is the only way I'm gonna be able to leapfrog. But it was really funny because he goes, the guy, he goes, okay, great. We just want some paper. Where he goes, as much proof as you can get to show that you have like income. He goes, because I believe you. You know, he's like, I believe that you're a comedian, and I believe you can pay. And I'm like, I'll pay for everything up front for 3 months, just because that's how I'm gonna have to do it. And he said the property manager, he just wants to see proof of income. He goes, because last year we had a situation. We had a woman that wanted to rent from us, much younger than you.
Fuck him.
Same situation, no paperwork, but a lot of cash. And we found out that she was a prostitute. Right. And I had to be like, I swear to God. And I was like, for shame. I don't even know that.
Right. No, God.
And I made a joke. I'm like, it's probably a more stable job than comedian.
That's funny.
And then I was like, don't Google me. It's Wendi with a Y. And I ran away.
It's crazy. But, like, comedians are one example. Sex workers are certainly another. Yeah. But like, there's so many. I sort of want to call them like the paperless communities.
Oh our babysitter right now. I have to write her a letter, which of course I'm more than thrilled to do. But she's an actress and a babysitter.
Right. She gets paid in cash and applesauce.
Yes,
I know.
Totally.
Right. You're like, so we counted. She ate 3 string cheeses every week consistently, and that total. Like,
and it's more than $400, so we have to issue a W-9.
Right.
Yeah, but it is when you're anything like, if we're in the fringe society, a fringe society in any way, but it's difficult to get anything.
And it feels like we're moving into a world where it's becoming increasingly difficult to operate outside of the system. And it feels like this has been the big fight. It's like beyond sex workers, beyond trans people, beyond marginalized races and religions, just the ability to live outside of the rigid rule box is something that is worth fighting for in a
100%.
Yeah, in a like vicious is the word that comes to mind way.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah. And I think that like sex workers, comics, artists of all stripes, but anyone bucking the system is on team fuck this.
Yeah. And so we need people like you and people like or organizations like SOAR because what you're doing, and I know that like you said, there can be like infighting and there can be resentment, and sometimes like what are these bitches trying to pull over on us?
Are there still people in this shit? That's upsetting. Yeah. People doing their people shit. Yeah. That's always a nightmare.
Yeah. Right. But we need people like, people like you and organizations like SOAR to help us pull us up, pull us up out of the well. Like, no, here, like honestly, like, here I have a rope, grab onto this.
Right. Not in a colonizer way. Right.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah, of course. Right. Of course. Not in a saving.
And I think one of the primary differences, I've seen you in many meetings. I've been to many of the meetings, and it's very hard for me not to talk. But something that I've noticed from you is you're very much, you're very much a, what are you trying to do here person, not a, let me tell you guys what we're doing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I hope not.
Yeah. No, it's incredible to watch. And so you said, what's the fourth thing?
So
that SOAR
so the
does
third thing is
before
capacity.
we're gonna wrap this
No,
up.
totally. And the other quick capacity building example, just to give a personal plug and a plug for the New York City stripper strike, is we've been doing a lot of work with the New York City stripper strike. And Giselle, who is the lead organizer, is amazing and wonderful. But is also somebody that, right, she doesn't have the benefit of a nonprofit, right? You know, that where she can like stay there all day fielding media calls and not go out and work. Right. So I've sort of played that role, which I'm thrilled to do, and it's an honor to do, of, you know, media saying, oh, hey, you know, do you know if Giselle's going to be fielding media inquiries? How can I best get in touch with her? And I'm more than happy to do that.
That's great.
Because I have the time.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Great, because I also need a publicist.
Right.
Perfect.
I'm more than happy to do it.
Give us a quick update on the New York City stripper strike.
So on the New York City stripper strike, you know, it's really exciting.
Giselle is working during the strike, so scabbing it up. No, I understand that.
Right. I mean, I think it's really at this point a lot of raising awareness.
Yep.
Right. We're in raising awareness mode. Been in a ton of media. Giselle's done an incredible job in doing that and raising awareness. I think the next steps is we're exploring legal strategies. And that's sort of something in my sort of the capacity building hat and my lawyer hat, as you know, how I've been sort of engaging. You know, I'm not a labor lawyer, but I know a lot of labor lawyers, and we've had a bunch of meetings, to try to figure out
how does this fit into that
exactly, and what is the best strategy, what makes the most sense, because the law doesn't always. The letter of the law is not, of course, how things generally play out, especially for sex workers and marginalized communities. So that's another example of like a group that we're working with that, you know, we are like, how can we help? What can we do to support? You know, both as a lawyer, but also just as a nonprofit that like we literally physically have space. Come make some signs. We all met and made signs for, you know, the women's march and then the International Women's Strike. So so that's the third thing. And then the fourth thing that we're doing is really narrative shifting, which is, you know, this. I had an article in BuzzFeed about why sex workers should be at the forefront of Me Too. And it was from my vantage point as not a sex worker, but as somebody that's worked in this community, and sort of I have the benefit of being part of the sex work activist community, but also like the vanilla normal community. And I'm like, guys, we have it all wrong. We are so fucked up. We need to listen to sex workers.
Sex workers have some insight onto this that we have been bulldozing past because we cannot see them or hear them when they talk.
They're dumb whores.
We're busy looking at boobs, whatever we're doing. You know?
Well, that's why we had to do this podcast. That's the reason. I say it's because I'm like a comic relief, but it's mostly like we need someone with real small tits and short hair that's also a whore. But like people will listen to her because like they're not trying to actively fuck.
Fuck you. It's whatever. I don't wear makeup. I'm in pajamas also. It's not like it doesn't matter. I wanted to ask you, as a longtime activist running an organization with an interest in culture shift changing, and I'm new to this world of activism, and I feel optimistic. It feels like the narrative is changing. But that might just be because of like conversations I'm having at bars.
It is.
Great. Fantastic.
The narrative is shifting. I mean, when I got involved in this movement in the late 90s, and maybe, you know, I joke I would never have gotten involved now, but it wasn't cool. It wasn't a hip movement to be, there weren't, you know, 19-year-olds at Brown being like, you know, fucking calling frosting.
There weren't like hot parties.
Right.
Yeah. With great costumes.
Right. Although we did have naked donuts at Brown, which was a whole other thing where we would go to the library and hand out donuts naked during finals week, which was awesome.
Oh, we were nice.
I am also an emotional and physical exhibitionist.
Oh, totally. I was like, clothes are sort of really superfluous, but that's a whole other maybe podcast. But so
you need a spin-off show because you've said like 7 things. We're gonna have you back. We'll go back and make notes because you mentioned something and you're like, that's a whole other podcast.
I know, right? I'm just gonna
you're just giving notes. Great.
We will bring you back.
You've
talk about
but also it sounds like we should party together.
Yes,
I also like to be naked.
Everyone should just be naked all the time. I don't understand clothing at all, and I have toddlers, and like they
don't get it either.
But they can just be naked, you know. But then I'm starting. My older one's 4, and now it's like when we hang out. Especially I have 2 two boys, which is very different, right? They're like gendered very differently than girls. But like my friends that have girls that are 4, and it's like, oh no, honey, you can't open your legs like that, or you have to put on, you know, like leggings or something. And I'm like,
your boy's like, I can stretch out my dick. Look,
right? It like breaks my heart, you know. Anyway, that's like, you know, but
that's that ladylike shit we were talking about at the beginning of the episode.
Right.
Close your legs, put on tights.
Right. Yeah. Close your.
You don't want to be the kind of 5-year-old that asks for it. That's a thing.
So it's right. Like my boys are running around like literally like naked, and everyone's like cheering them on. You know. Anyway, it's very interesting to see. You know. But you know, the narrative has definitely shifted around sex work, and there's more of a mainstream dialogue about decrim, and I do believe the decriminalization of prostitution is going to happen in New York. I really do. Not tomorrow.
Sure.
Right.
Could be 30, 40, 50, you know, or it could be 5 years. I don't know, but it feels doable.
Okay. It feels achievable.
It feels achievable.
Do you feel like we might possibly be aggressively marching towards a dystopian future where we turn sex work into just another kind of like wage slave, like regulated, like the McDonaldization of sex work? Is that,
I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. You know, I don't think that is where we're headed. I hope. I mean, I guess there would be benefits and drawbacks, but I do think that for sure there is a huge shift in the mainstream narrative. But again, the human trafficking, and I know we're wrapping up, but the human trafficking narrative is pushing us backwards.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
As it historically does.
As it moves, right? The white slave trade back, you know, the Mann Act, et cetera.
Like white slavery, a problem. We remember a huge fan of the black slavery, but white slavery.
Right. Let's all
as an emergency.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I think again, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 5 steps back, as it might be. Fosta Sesta, right? But there is emerging from Trump, I think there is emerging more of a distinct narrative on the left,
right?
At times. So I think that we are moving things forward. The narrative on a mainstream level has shifted undoubtedly in the last 20 years since I got involved.
And just in case things go to that McDonald's future you're talking about, I think what we should seriously talk about off air is, I know we were joking, but we really need to start working on like a space hooker army.
Yeah.
We start building a ship. You've got the space for it, right?
Yeah.
You have the space, so we can start building a ship, and that's where we're all going to go.
Yeah, no, I mean that's
we got to do it.
Design the outfit.
You're a lawyer. I mean, like it's totally possible and would be an objectively huge improvement to replace the entire criminal justice system with a panel of postmenopausal whores, right? I mean, that would just make everything better for. Okay, great. On that,
I love it. I can't wait to design our space outfits.
Yes,
space outfit.
And Elon Musk is coming with us. He loves whores.
He is cute.
So let's do our plugs and then we'll go and then we'll look at pictures of Elon Musk.
Yeah. Well, you guys know to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Old Pro Podcast. We're also on Facebook, The Oldest Profession Podcast. Please email us at theoldestprofessionpodcast@gmail.com, or if you want to send us sensitive information, you can email us at theoldestprofessionpodcast at protonmail.com. I give you guys the wrong email address a lot. I'm sorry.
Everyone's getting on Proton Mail.
That's fine.
Proton Mail's great. And then you can follow me at Kaytlin Bailey.
On Twitter, I'm at Wendi Starling. On Instagram, at WendyBird82. And we're going to be promoting. We have our live show April 18th at Soho Playhouse, 8 o'clock. A portion of the proceeds are going to benefit the SOAR Institute. And now you know. See, so I mean, come and hang out. Melissa's going to be there. We're going to have merch.
Really cute tank tops for sale.
Oh my God.
Hey, we better get our merch.
If you think
Andy from the print company is listening.
You know what?
Get back to work, Andy.
We'll try to get working on our space outfits so we can wear some part of our matching space uniforms to the show on the 18th.
We're going to look slutty no matter what.
We're going to look slutty. We're going to be slutty. We have a great lineup of comedians. Alex English is on it for sure. He's fucking so good. I think Carrie Codette. It's a great lineup. Excited. Ticket links are in the notes here, the show notes. So get those and come hang out with us Wednesday. And then Melissa, what would you like to plug?
I would like to plug SOAR Institute's website, www.soarinstitute.org. You can email us at info@soarinstitute.org. And, hit us up, follow us. We're on Insta and Twitter, SOAR_Institute. And please, and come in on the 18th.
Well, I have to pee like a racehorse, but thank you so much for listening. This has been
The Oldest Profession.